Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start our video with a story that touches on the importance of listening to other people, especially if you're a doctor. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. If you leave the ward, we will discharge you. This is a story from over a decade ago, which has always stuck with me. In 2011, my darling daddy had to have surgery to remove one of his kidneys due to a large cyst. 2 days after his surgery, while he was on the ward recovering, he began to feel unwell, but thankfully it was something he was used to that could be resolved easily: heart palpitations. Now, Dad has been having heart palpitations since the mid-90s, and while it was scary in the early days, by 2011 it was a really simple routine. Go to A&E and get an injection from the cardiac team at the hospital. Sometimes he would have a normal sinus rhythm, but would be having palpitations nonetheless, identified by the feeling in his body. The doctor on shift took an ECG and promptly informed him that he was not having a heart palpitation, he had a normal sinus rhythm. He tried to explain that he'd been having palpitations for 15 years, he knows what a palpitation feels like, and that all she needed to do was call the cardiac team. This was a semi-regular occurrence, about once a year, and the heart nurses all knew him by name and loved him. He's quite a character. The doctor refused to page the cardiac team, repeating that he wasn't having palpitations. For a couple of hours, Dad sat there in panic, getting more and more distressed. It was outside of visiting time, so he was alone. He told the doctor that he'd make his own way to the cardiac team, and she told him, "If you leave the ward, we will consider you absconded and we will formally discharge you again." This was 2 days after losing a major organ. This is where the malicious compliance comes in. Dad called 999 from his hospital bed. When they asked for his address, he said, "That's an interesting question. Normally it's XXXXXX, but right now I'm on Ward X at XXX Hospital." Shocked, the call handler asked him what had happened, and Dad relayed the whole thing to them. The call handler escalated the call to a manager who asked to speak to Dad's doctor and gave her a massive dressing down. Her face grayed as she realized the gravity of what was happening. She immediately arranged for a porter to take him down to A&E, UK emergency room, to be assessed by the cardiac team. And what do you know, he was in fact having palpitations and had been for several hours. A quick injection later, his heart was back to normal, and we were all left stunned by the whole thing. I was in my 20s at the time, and Dad was my superhero, and seeing him crying in a hospital bed, looking so scared and small, will never leave me. I'll never forget what that doctor did, and I'll never forgive her. She never even apologized to him, or to us. Dad could probably have taken the hospital, the doctor, and the trust to court, but that's just not his bag, and he let it go like water off a duck's back. 12 years later, and he's healthy and happy, but I honestly thought I might lose him because of an arrogant doctor and her stubbornness. Medical people never apologize. It may be seen as an act of admittance or guilt and opening them up to a lawsuit. Anything with an apology that can be confirmed is an instant loss in court. They may want to say sorry, but still can't. If they do, they'll be uninsurable in the future and lose the ability to work at all. And our second story. The office is for staff only. This one happened in 2014. I was working on a construction job as a pipe welder building an LNG plant for a company that's currently building nuclear reactors for the U.S. Navy. And the way this company had itself set up was with two distinct classes of employee. The craft employees are the ones that actually do the work, everyone from a laborer to a machine operator, pipe fitters, welders, and as will become important later, the leading hands are all in this category. Staff are the salaried employees, supervisors, engineers, welding inspectors, section superintendents, etc. Our crew worked great for a few months until our supervisor got a better offer elsewhere one day and quit, leaving our leading hand to try and manage the crew of 80 on his own. Getting another supervisor anytime soon wasn't going to happen, and we all got on really well, so we just did what we could to keep things going. One of the jobs the supervisor would normally do is pull up all of the drawings we needed. The drawings tell us the exact shape, specification, and location of each pipe has to go, and with a crew as big as ours, we might need 50 to 100 drawings each day. The thing is, the supervisor had access to the company intranet system with a company laptop and a printer. Us lowly craft employees didn't have that. What we did have is access to the literal library of physical drawing folders in the main office, and me, who'd spent years in old power stations going through old physical drawings and knew how to manually search through millions of pages to get the exact drawings we needed. So that became my job. For the first week or so, without a supervisor, my leading hand would give me a list of drawings to pick out and photocopy, and I'd get that done. It'd take me 2 to 3 hours of a morning, and then I'd get on to my usual duties, welding crap, until the section piping manager saw me in his office one day. "Who are you?" I'm OP." "You're not staff, you're one of our welders. The office is for staff only. Go back to your section." "You got it, boss." So I did, and on my way there, I told my leading hand that the office was for staff only as well. You'll see my leading hand was very quick, and he caught on immediately. So he called up the piping section manager and confirmed that the office was off limits to the craft employees, which included my leading hand. We both knew we were at least 5 weeks out from getting a new supervisor, so neither of us went into the office to get drawings. Our entire crew of 80-odd people, all of which were making $3,500+ a week before tax, did zero productive work for the next 7 weeks because the office is for staff only. It's incredible how a seemingly small bureaucratic rule can have such a significant impact on productivity. It's clear that the company's rigid distinction between craft and staff employees ended up causing more harm than good in this situation. And our next story. I don't work for Subway. So about 4 years ago, I worked at a gas station that was connected to a Subway. I've had some hilarious things happen due to this, like a customer trying to buy their sandwich from me or people thinking I'm the one that runs both stores. Anyway, one day a man we'll call Ed walks through the walkway that connects the stores together and comes up to the register. The conversation is as follows. Me: "How can I help you today, sir?" Ed: "Are you the manager?" Me: "No, sir, I'm not, but I'd be happy to help you in any way I can. My manager isn't on site currently." Ed: "Well, I'd like to make a complaint about those two over there." He points at the Subway side of the building. Me: "Well, they have a sign behind the counter with their manager and district manager's numbers on it in case of customer complaints, so I'm sure if you'd like to call one of them, they'd be happy to help, I'm sure." Ed looks confused at this point, and I'm wondering where this is going. Ed: "I just want to leave a complaint with you, and you can tell your manager." Me: "I'm sorry, sir, I guess I wasn't clear on this. Their manager and my manager are two different people." Ed again looks like he's going to blow a gasket trying to figure this out. Ed: "That's impossible. You work in the same building owned by the same company. Now, are you going to take my complaint or not?" Me: "While we do work in the same building, we are not owned by the same company. You'd have to get the number for their manager from the sign behind the counter." A look of realization dawns on his face. I begin to thank the retail gods that this awkward interaction is over. Ed: "Oh, I see what's going on here." And then with one phrase, my heart is seized by despair as I realize he didn't come to the correct conclusion. I then began to curse the retail gods as I asked the fateful question. Me: "What would that be, sir?" Ed: "You're covering for your buddies over there, fooling good-paying customers like myself just to stay out of trouble while you slack off." While it was true that I was friends with the two over there, all my friends know that if you ever screw up at work and I'm on shift with you, you're on your own. I will not risk my job over someone else's BS. So even if we had the same managers, that wouldn't be the case. Me: "I'm sorry, sir, but that's just not true. I would never cheat a customer, and I pride myself on my work ethic. I'm sorry that you feel that way, but as I've said, I can't file a complaint on people that don't work in the same store as me." Ed: "They do work in the same store, you idiot. I know the manager, and when he hears about you three goofing off and tricking people into believing your lies, he'll fire all of you." I resist the urge to facepalm at the fact that my manager is a woman. I've given up trying to resolve the situation at this point and resigned myself to the fact that he'll believe whatever he wants to. Me: "Again, sir, I apologize. Let me know how that goes when you talk to my manager. I'm sure she'll tell you the same thing I have." At this point, he's starting to leave, but turns around at the door. Ed: "Now you've really done it. You know, you tried feeding me that lie, and I know different. I told you I knew y'all's manager, and he wouldn't appreciate you insinuating he's a woman. Ed turns around and marches away. I shrug and sigh and go about the rest of my shift in relative peace. And our last story. HOA president removed my fence, bushes, and trees without warning. I received an email from the HOA president that some slats in my fence needed to be fixed. A few days later, I came home to find my fence, backyard bushes, and backyard trees had been removed. There was also an email from the president saying the easiest thing would be for me to pay the contractors directly. Note, she's known as being a crazy HOA leader. I'm calling the police to report theft. If they ask for a suspect, I'm naming the person and not the HOA. Assuming the covenants show the removal to be illegal, I'm unsure of how to proceed. Since the person represented herself as speaking for the HOA, I'm thinking of writing the HOA via certified mail, explaining the situation and asking that my property be returned to its previous state. I will note that the mature trees cannot be replaced with similarly mature ones and quote my best guess of monetary substitution, which will get their attention at $250,000. 100-foot-tall pines. They refused. My next step is an attorney. Update. Tree law. In Georgia, any tree or bushes removed need to be replaced by like size. Mature bushes are expensive, value, and AI landscaping made good, with triple damages applied. From the before photos, we assess the damage. 10 bushes at $250 plus $3,000 fence equals $5,500. Damages owed to you, $16,500. Triple. The court was on my side and I received every penny. The president of the HOA soon left his position. Overall, you handled a challenging situation very well, and it's satisfying to hear that justice was served in the end. Hopefully, this experience will serve as a lesson to others who might consider abusing their power in similar ways. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.